Hello and welcome to The Point After. It's back.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Wimberly, joined by Jorge, Andrés. And yes, we have brought the old show back, but we are going to do it a little different this time around. We will stream the show every week on Monday and Friday, talking sports from local to national. And we can't do a show this week without talking about the big game, the Super Bowl, which you can watch right here on WBTV this Sunday. Let's get right to business. Let's break down this matchup, Jorge.
I mean, it's a monster matchup, Nate. We're talking about the Niners and the Chiefs, a rematch of Super Bowl 54. Fireworks expected. The over-under set at 47.5. In San Francisco, when the lines opened, they were favored by 1.5. Look, we're going to talk about those easy locks. We're going to talk about the big boys, too. We got some special guests to talk about the trenches. Former Arizona Cardinal Rolando Cantu will join us in just moments, but you talked about it. This is a heavyweight match,
Yes,
Nate.
yes,
We're
yes.
talking about an offensive team in Kansas City that can beat you at any time. An offensive team in San Francisco that can run the ball to perfection. Then two defenses that are very, very good. So let me break down this run game of Kansas City for you. Of San Francisco. This San Francisco run game is fantastic. We're talking about 21 personnel, one of the groupings that they use most. But wait a minute, hold the chicken. What is 21 personnel? Well, let me tell you, it is a running back, another running back, Christian McCaffrey, and two wide receivers. This is very elusive. Why? Because of this man. Kyle Juszczyk. Yes, Juice can play running back, fullback, tight end, and he can even line up in the slot and run a route. So when we have 21 personnel, you're trying to confuse that defense. Watch this. Then Christian McCaffrey starts left, cuts back right. CMC, we saw it here in Carolina. He's got that vision. He can go all day. Picks about 8-9 yards there. So then they start chipping away with 21 personnel and then goes over to 11 personnel. One more time, hold on. What is 11 personnel? Well, let me show you. 1, 2, 3 wide receivers this time, and Christian McCaffrey. Once more, what's going to happen? They could motion, they could run, or they can use CMC once more. Block right, cut back left. That's that patience, that vision of Christian McCaffrey. They did that to be able to mount a comeback against the Detroit Lions, and that's going to be something that's going to be opening lanes for one Brock Purdy, because then later in that Lion game, what do we have? Guess what? 11 personnel. You guys should know by now. 1, 2, 3 wide receivers, and 1 running back. We play it again, and there's that wing back, cut back, half back, whatever you want to call it. It's the patience of Christian McCaffrey going from one side to the other. Now, why is that important for one Brock Purdy? Because I mentioned that motion. You see Deebo Samuel right there, and you see that motion. 1, 2, 3, 11 personnel. Could have gone to Deebo there, or it could be a pass play to Deebo. There's that vision. Brock Purdy, excellent job picking away his defenders. You see double team coverage here. So what does that do? Well, that just opens up CMC, who can kill you with his hands too. Easy pass there. Whether it's CMC, whether it's George Kittle, whether it's Deebo Samuel, I'm telling you, the offensive weapons through the air are great, but they only work if the run is established first, which is what they're doing, punching you with that CMC wingback cutback.
Yeah, and for me, this whole Super Bowl comes down to the fact that San Francisco does have to run the ball because the quarterback matchup is Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. I like Patrick Mahomes in that scenario. They have to establish the run to make it a little bit easier on Brock Purdy in this game. If they can run the ball, then it's going to open up those things, to your point. Deebo Samuel deep, George Kittle in the flats, and George Kittle's got to be a huge factor in this game. But it all starts with running the ball. San Francisco has to run the ball, or this is going to be a long, boring Super Bowl.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look, if they run the ball and they establish that run, Kansas City needs to be able to adjust. They need to be able to hold it down. Who's going to be the key player here? It's going to be one Nick Bolton, the middle linebacker for this Kansas City Chiefs team. Chris Johnson and Jones, and the defensive line also needs to penetrate, because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, Nate, they got to stop the run. It's that old saying, slow until you know. We saw McCaffrey. He likes to cut it back. Slow until you know. Don't overcommit. That way, then you can stop the run, because I'm with you. If it's a Brock Purdy against Pat Mahomes matchup, I'm going to put my money with Pat.
It's going to be time to go to sleep, because I think they're going to roast them. Kansas City's going to roast them if it's that.
Yeah, then that's not what we wanted. That's certainly not what San Francisco wants. Look, at the end of the day, it's all about the trenches. The offensive line against the defensive line. But what are we talking about? Let's talk to our experts. Yes, our expert about the O-lines and the D-lines. And if we're talking about the big boys, that's right, I'm talking about the offense and the defensive linemen. And then we got to connect with our guy, former Arizona Cardinals offensive lineman, the lead NFL analyst for Amazon Prime's Thursday Night Football, as well as Universo and Telemundo's Sunday Night Football, Rolando Cantu. Rolly, what's up, brother? How's Vegas?
Jorge, Andrés, good to hear your voice, my friend. It's great. We got here yesterday, and we're at Radio Row, and you can feel that this Super Bowl is going to be a memorable Super Bowl because, one, the game, and two, the environment that there is over here in Las Vegas. Man, it's going to be crazy.
No, I bet, man. I bet it's popping and it's going, but we got to talk big boys, like I mentioned. And we got to talk about these front lines, man. This is where the game is going to be won. Look, if you're talking about San Francisco and you're looking at that defensive line of Kansas City, then you got to circle Chris Jones. On the opposite side, you got to circle Nick Bosa. What are these offensive lines going to do, brother?
Well, when you talk about the San Francisco 49er offensive line, I think they're the best to adapt in whatever scenario. Talk about Trent Williams. I think the best left tackle there is in the business. The versatility he brings to a game plan is tremendous. There's not another offensive tackle in the league that can actually line up in motion and pull and actually destroy any gap. So when you have that availability, Kyle Shanahan is very creative. Obviously, he doesn't put them very often in that scenario. It's just in a special play, in a momentum play where you need that big push and you need to run the ball aggressively between the tackles. I think Trent Williams is going to dictate the physicality there is, Jorge Andrés, in those trenches on the San Francisco 49ers side. But you're right, Chris Jones is a beast, man. And I think what he's done in the month of December and January, it's just tremendous. The defensive side of the ball for the Kansas City Chiefs has been the motor of this team. And Andy Reid has said it publicly. This is the best defensive unit we've had in a while here. And I think once you have that and you have that stability on that side, obviously Spagnuolo calling plays and being very versatile with a young perimeter and also having that aggressiveness with Chris Jones, you're going to look for Chris Jones to line up in a nose, in the shade, even a two technique, a three technique, have them tight. They're going to try and explode whoever is available on that offensive line for the San Francisco 49ers. And once you have Chris Jones become aggressive and actually not only sacking the quarterback, but once you have him just disturb Brock Purdy, I think that's when it gets better for the Kansas City Chiefs defensive unit. And to be honest with you, this is going to be the best matchups we've ever seen in the Super Bowl when it comes to offensive line and D-line matchups.
Rolly, let me talk about the start of the game. It's no doubt that San Francisco has to run the ball well to win this game, but San Francisco starts. They've been pretty slow during these playoffs, both in the Green Bay and the Detroit game. With Kansas City, if Kansas City scores first this season, they are 10-1. If they don't score first, it's 3-5. How important is it for San Francisco to not start slow like they did against Green Bay and against Detroit?
Nate, it's very important because once you get a slow start against an experienced team that's practically been here every single year, playing the Super Bowl and also winning AFC championships, you're not going. If you get behind the sticks, it's going to be practically impossible to catch up. This is not the Green Bay Packers. This is not the Detroit Lions. This is an experienced team that knows how to manage perfectly when they're up on the board. And I think the Niners, what they've done in the recent weeks, it's something where if they don't stay true to the game plan, and of course you have to adjust during the first and second quarter, maybe even your script, your 15-play script, you have to make sure that physically you're matching up and also you're running the ball. You're having third and short situations where you can manage it with a run game. If that happens, I think they'll be able to match up and stay square with the scoreboard.
If there's just one thing that you can pinpoint as an Achilles heel for this run game for the 49ers, what is it?
There's none. I think once you have that CMC running in that backfield, and once you have those big boys just reestablishing the line of scrimmage, you have to make sure you feed them the ball. And I get it. It's Super Bowl, and Brock is, for a lot of people, is a game manager, but he's the best game manager there is this season because he's playing in the Super Bowl. I think you have to make sure you take some risk.
Rolando Cantu, you can catch him on Amazon Prime's Thursday Night Football as well as Universo's and Telemundo's Sunday Night Football. Rolly, thank you, brother. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jorge Andrés. Thank you, Nate.
It's been 6 years since the Carolina Panthers have been in the playoffs, but this Super Bowl will feature a coach and a couple of players with ties to the Panthers. A year ago, a Charlotte native, Steve Wilkes, was the interim head coach of the Panthers and in the running to get the head coaching job after the team finished the season 6-6 under his leadership. But they went with Frank Wright, which opened the door for Wilkes to move on to San Fran to become their defensive coordinator, and now he has a chance to win a world title. Wilkes says he's not bitter about what happened last year going to San Fran, and seeing how the York family, the owners of the Niners, run their organization shows him how a franchise should be run. Running back Christian McCaffrey spent 5 great seasons in Carolina before he was traded in 2022. He even had a 1,000-yard rushing and receiving season in 2019. But he is now glad to be with the Niners on an offense with so many Pro Bowlers and All-Pros. Defenses they can't just focus on CMC. His father Ed won 2 Super Bowls as a Denver Bronco, and CMC says it's a dream come true to have a chance to do what his father did. But what has his father told him about preparing for the biggest game in his career?
Sometimes the best advice is just to continue doing what you're doing, and for him, you know, he never made a game. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl, but there's no rah-rah speech. There's no pump-up speech. The natural emotion will come in, and I'll be excited. But, you know, as I said before, it's all about, hey, make sure your body's good, make sure your mind's good, and then go do what you do. I don't know if it's sunk in yet. I think for me, my mind is so focused on Sunday, and just continuing to rep every play in my head and take care of my body and do all the things I have to do for the game. But I have so much gratitude for everything I've been through and for where God's put me in this world, and just excited for this weekend.
Yeah, and we have to congratulate CMC after winning Offensive Player of the Year last night at the NFL Honors. But we also can't forget about Sam Darnold, was a former starting quarterback here with the Carolina Panthers. He's the backup quarterback with the San Francisco 49ers right now, and helping out Brock Purdy a big time this season as a silent kind of steadying factor for him. And also Javon Hargrave, former North Carolina star. He's the starting defensive tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. He played in the Super Bowl last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, so he's getting a lot of bites at the apple. You don't know how many
he wants that ring.
You don't know how many you're going to get,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
you might want to get this one done this time.
It's a bittersweet thing, you know, because you want to cheer on these guys because they were here in Carolina. We got to see them. But at the same time, it's like, man, now they're in San Francisco winning a ring there and not here in Carolina. Hey, you know what? We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be. There's going to be a lot of folks. I still think a lot of folks want to see.
Yeah, I want to see CMC.
Especially CMC and Steve Wilkes because
yes.
of the way it just ended here. You kind of want to see Steve Wilkes get that just do and stand there in the end and almost have a belly laugh. Look at me now.
Only thing standing in the way? Oh, just the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah,
exactly.
No problem.
It's just the
Chiefs.
It's just the defending champs.
Yeah.
Looking for back-to-back.
There you go.
For the first time since the New England Patriots.
There you go.
It's still to come. Is it KC or San Fran? We're talking to the experts covering each team next.
Every hit, every touchdown, every moment. Get an inside look at the Super Bowl with the free WBTV News app. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to download. It's everything you need to be in the know for the big game.
Hey, WBTV Chief Meteorologist Al Conklin in the First Alert Weather Center. You're making plans for the weekend. Understand we've got several rounds of rain. Some of it's going to be heavy. You want to stay ahead of the storm? Download our free WBTV weather app. Have a great weekend.
It happened to Taylor Swift. It could happen to you and your children too. Your cherished photos stolen from social media and turned into hardcore pornography. Do you ever post pictures of your children online?
No, I don't. There's been a lot of victims of this, children, women, and sometimes men.
WBTV investigates this shocking trend and the steps you should take to keep you and your children safe. Unknowingly exploited. Sunday after the Super Bowl on WBTV.
Welcome back to The Point After. Let's get back to breaking down this Super Bowl matchup by talking to the reporters who cover these two teams on a weekly basis, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Joining us now is Scott Reese, sports director from KCTV out in Kansas City. Hey, Scott, man, thanks for joining us here on The Point After. This is becoming your annual trip for February, going to the Super Bowl 4 out of the last 5 years. You've been to a lot of these. What's the sense, what's the feel out there in Las Vegas? It's the first time for the venue, for the city. It's a city that knows how to do things big. What's the sense and feel out there in Kansas City?
Yeah, it's different. And, you know, the Super Bowl is always an event larger than life, and Las Vegas, by its very existence, is larger than life. So you put the two together, and honestly, this is the perfect venue, the perfect backdrop for Super Bowl 58, especially for a team like the Chiefs and their fans who, as you mentioned, have done this dance a time or two. So this, I think, takes it up a notch. It's different. It's bigger. Even Radio Row, which you see behind me, is the biggest Radio Row in Super Bowl history, and I don't know what that number, that exact number is of stations, but it's in the hundreds. So it's awesome, man. I mean, it's a great vibe, and it's only going to build as we get closer to Sunday.
As you look at this matchup, what's another key factor in this game, a key for Kansas City to do to come away with that victory and that Lombardi Trophy again?
You know, offensively, I think the game plan is actually very similar to what we've seen in the playoffs. But to me, the question is who else is going to make the one play that tilts the game? And by who else, I mean besides Travis Kelce, besides Rashee Rice, and besides Isaiah Pacheco. Because those three are far and away the leading ball touchers in this offense outside of, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. So we saw Marquez Valdes-Scantling with a couple of massive plays over the course of the playoffs. Justin Watson had a huge catch. Who else is going to make the big play? Because I don't think three guys on offense are going to be enough. So that's the one thing I'm watching against what is a really, really good San Francisco defense, but a defense that has at times been susceptible to the pass. Which of these other receivers is going to step up on a big third down or a big red zone and make a play that could have an impact on the final score?
KC has had a lot of success winning Super Bowls, but do you think this will be the most gratifying win and most gratifying Lombardi, considering all the injuries, the issues with the wide receivers, dropping balls in big moments and making boneheaded plays in key moments, having to go on the road for the playoffs and winning 2 games on the road when a lot of people kind of just said they're not going to do it this time. Would this probably be the most gratifying Super Bowl win for KC?
Well, I can speak from my perspective. My answer would be yes. I think from a lot of the fans' perspective, from what I have heard, the answer would also be yes. And from the players' perspective, judging from the way they've answered those questions, that might in fact be the case. Now, you know, is any Super Bowl win as big as your first one, right? It might be if you ask Travis or Patrick Mahomes. You know, it's hard to compare, you know, your first win versus your second versus your third. They're all different. But I think that because of everything that you just laid out, all the adversity, all the drops, the 5-5 record over a stretch of the second half of the season heading into the playoffs, not exactly oozing momentum, and then of course having to go on the road and win at Buffalo in a tough venue, at Baltimore in a tough venue, and come out and manage to find your way here some way, somehow. I think that from my vantage point, it certainly seems like this would be the most gratifying of the bunch.
You're going to be very busy on Sunday covering the Super Bowl, but I have to know, who are you picking in Puppy Bowl 20, Team Rough or Team Fluff?
Wow, I'm going to go Fluff. I always go tails on the coin toss, and I don't know what that has to do with this, but I'm going to go. I'll go Team Fluff, because who doesn't love a fluffy dog?
Hey, there you go.
Rough, I mean loud, barky dogs. I would prefer the quiet, fluffy dog.
There you go. My team is Team Fluff as well. Scott Reese, hey man, appreciate your time. For the San Francisco side of things, we turn now to Carlos Ramirez of NBC Sports Bay Area. He handles the pregame and postgame out there with the 49ers. Hey, Carlos, thank you for joining us on the Point Out there.
Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Everything is good. Everything is good. Let's start with this. Keep Pounding Nation here with the Carolina Panthers and the fans. They feel like the San Francisco 49ers owe us a big thank you for sending a couple of former Carolina Panthers and Christian McCaffrey and defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. Let's start with Christian McCaffrey. What has he meant to this franchise coming in there and becoming a piece that could get this team back to the Super Bowl?
And don't forget Sam Darnold, because he's been a quiet piece backing up Brock Purdy. So, yeah, thank you, Carolina. If the San Francisco 49ers win on Sunday, I'm pretty sure we should be sending rings to the city of Charlotte and the beautiful state of both Carolinas. So he has been a game changer, Nate. And the fun story about how he got here is that it took both John Lynch and Jet York, the owner and GM of the team, to convince Kyle Shanahan that the asking price from the Panthers was adequate, was the one they should pay for Christian McCaffrey. We're talking about a guy that's been unstoppable. He has, with him on the roster, the 49ers are 26-6, and he has been able to unlock everyone around him. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Conversely, Nate, Kyle Shanahan's system and weapons around Christian McCaffrey have allowed CMC to blossom into this MVP caliber running back. And I think he is just not just the best running back in football. I think he is the best offensive weapon in football, period.
Yeah, we're pretty aware of that. You don't have to keep rubbing it in that he's a great offensive weapon that they just kind of just gave away. Let's go to Steve Wilks, defensive coordinator. He was the interim head coach here at the end of last year, led the team to a 6-6 record, was in the running to get the head coaching job. They went with Frank Reich. He goes to San Francisco, and he was that stabilizing factor when DeMeco Ryans headed off to Houston. He comes in, the defense doesn't miss a beat. Let's talk about what Steve Wilks has meant to that defense and kept that train rolling of great defenses out there in the Bay Area.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for him because he came to a system that had a very established identity with the players they had. I'm sure this is the best defense that Steve Wilks has coached from a name perspective, from players like Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and so on and so forth. The biggest thing I think he has brought to this team, Nate, is the ability to develop the secondary players for this defense. They had both DeMeco Ryans and Robert Saleh very much focused on the front seven, linebacker core specifically, but now Steve has taken the secondary to a next level. And remember those 3 games they had, the 49ers did, that 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season. The changing factor to flip things around, or one of the big factors, was the health of Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams, but also Steve Wilks coming down from the booth where he was calling the games to the field. And ever since that change happened, the defense took a step up. He has been tremendous here in San Francisco.
Hey, Carlos, man, we appreciate your time and joining us here on The Point After. Have a safe travel out to Vegas, man, and let's see if the Niners can get it done.
Thank you so much. A big hug to the beautiful people out in Charlotte, including my very good friend, Jorge Andrés. And one of my brothers, life brothers, lives out there. The great Diego Guevara, former UNC Charlotte 49ers point guard, talking about 49ers. So a big shout out to Diego and his family. And thank you, Nate, for doing such a great job. And hopefully you will be getting a ring after Monday when Christian McCaffrey becomes the Super Bowl 58 MVP. So let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Diego Guevara, one of the all-time great Charlotte 49ers. The house is on fire.
Yes.
The three-pointer, absolutely.
Yes.
You brought a name back. That's another whole topic. We're on Super Bowl right now. We're on the Super Bowl right now. Thank you, Carlos, man, for joining us.
I love every bit of that. 100%. Hey, look. Sports betting, it's coming to North Carolina. You'll soon be able to place your bets. That said, let's take a look at the best bets, the locks for Super Bowl 58. At the end of the day, it's 12-7-1 is the record in the last 20 games against the spread for the Kansas City Chiefs. The line opened for San Francisco. They were favored by 1.5. Some books have them at 2 or 2.5 right now. The lock there is, I think, that the Kansas City Chiefs will cover that. I'll take the 1.5 plus 1.5 and the Kansas City Chiefs. In terms of firepower, we mentioned it. This is going to be an offensive game at times, and the line, the over-under line, set at 47.5. My lock here is an over bet because I do see that run game that we talked about being established, but then I also see Patrick Mahomes doing what Patrick Mahomes does, whether it's with Pacheco or Travis Kelce. Lock it in, over 47.5 points. Now, let's have a little bit of fun. We know the national anthem is a great time. Everybody's in. Reba McEntire singing the national anthem this time. The line set from many books at 90.5 seconds? Is it going to be over 90.5 seconds or under 90.5 seconds? Now, let me give you this point. The only national anthem that was ever under 91 seconds was Billy Joel back in 1999. Now, that said, Reba McEntire, she sang the national anthem in 83 seconds in the 1997 World Series. Doesn't matter. I'm taking the over and the plus 102. That's a good one. Now, everybody's locked in on Taylor Swift. How much screen time is Taylor Swift going to get? The line set for many books, 28.5 seconds. Is that going to be over or under? Well, get this. In the Buffalo Bills game in the postseason, it was under 24 seconds. However, in the AFC Championship game, it was 32 seconds. So for me, America wants to see Taylor take the over. It's over 28.5 seconds. I guarantee we will see a lot of Taylor Swift. Finally, my last one, Nate, you mentioned it, brother. We were talking about that Puppy Bowl, and if there's going to be one puppy that scores and the game-winning Puppy Bowl touchdown plus 3,300, I'm taking Bark Purdy. That's right, Bark Purdy, Nate. That's my pick, Bark Purdy. He's going to be the guy, or the puppy, I should say.
Exactly, it's the puppy. Come on, man. Are we going to be betting on the puppy?
Hey, man, what I'm saying, that Bark Purdy, I like the name. He got me with the name.
Oh, man. I'm going to go back to something that Carlos talked about. We are doing a Super Bowl preview.
That's right.
And it wasn't on my bingo card. Yes, when we recorded that interview with Carlos, he talked about Diego Guevara, folks. One of the all-time greats, Charlotte 49ers, three-point shooters. This actually is a talking bobblehead, but it's old, and the talk doesn't sound that. But
batteries are dead.
He says, I told the team, tell them you better call 911 because the house is on fire. That is one of his most famous lines, one of the all-time greats. We're going to get to talking about the Charlotte 49ers down the road and their successful season that they've had thus far. And one of the reasons why back in the day that they were, the Halton Arena was packed and they were winning a lot of games in Conference USA was Diego Guevara. So you came to see a Super Bowl preview show and you got to talk about Diego Guevara.
That's called a tease because when you guys watch it every Friday, every Monday, you're going to get some hoops. You're going to get some football. You're going to get all sports, national and local, right here in Charlotte.
Absolutely. Let's get to our final thoughts. First off, I've got to go back to last night and give homage to Julius Peppers, one of the all-time greats for the Carolina Panthers. He is headed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, class of 2024, 159.5 sacks, 11 interceptions, 9 Pro Bowls. He's the only player in NFL history to have over 100 sacks and over 10 interceptions. Folks, if you're the only player to do something in the NFL, you might as well get ready to get fitted for a gold jacket, and he is going to get fitted for a gold jacket. The only man on the earth to ever play in the Super Bowl and the Final Four, another only. If you're doing that, let me get that.
Yeah, he's a manimal. He's a manimal, half man, half animal. It's amazing. And look, I drove by Bank of America Stadium on my way here. They were honoring when Julius Peppers had gold trim all around the stadium. Congratulations to Julius Peppers. Extremely well-deserved. I love that he got in the Hall.
Okay, now it's that time.
It's that time.
Pick'ems. Let's pick this game. I'll go first.
Here we go.
As much as I would love to see this team to win, as I said before, with Steve Wilkes, Christian McCaffrey, Javon Hargrave, because he's been at it a long time, and you don't know how many times people just think just because you're on a good team that window's going to stay open. You're going to keep getting a bite of that apple. No, folks, that window closes. Just ask the Carolina Panthers. I mean, it closes quickly when you get the chance. No. When you get the chance to get it, you better get it. So as much as I would like to see them win, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Kansas City Chiefs. I got them winning 32-27. Kansas City in a good game. I think Brock is going to play well, but in the end, that Mahomes match, and that hurts me to say, 'cause I don't like Patrick Mahomes.
But here's the thing. You mentioned it. We talked about Coach Wilkes and what he's done with this defense. One of the best things about Coach Wilkes is how upset and how angry that defense was playing this postseason, especially in that Detroit game. How they got in such a hole. They were just lazy. They weren't doing anything, and they relied on the offense to be able to pick it back up, to win it and punch their ticket to Super Bowl 58. Coach Wilkes is a very good coach. So I think he's going to get that defense uptight. And I think that offensive line of San Francisco is the best offensive line in football, led by Trent Williams. I think CMC is going to have himself a day. And yes, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, pick number 262, is going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Hey, what do they say, though? Good teams win, great teams cover. Kansas City is going to cover, but San Francisco will be your champion. My score, 31-27.
Okay.
And it's the San Francisco 49ers.
1 point off of mine, man. Come on, man.
No, but I went the other way, brother.
Man,
I went the other way.
Come on, man.
I went the other way.
Oh, my God. Here we go. We're going to start this. Folks trying to copy Nate and get behind Nate.
I'm going the other way.
Ride my coattail.
I got the winning team. You got the losing team.
Oh, okay. And also, let me bring this up, too. Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
He's been in this spot a lot, as a Falcon fan. Kyle Shanahan is dirt, in my opinion, because he allowed the Falcons to blow that whatever they was against the Patriots.
28-3?
Yeah, but he's been close. He's been knocking on that door, and you got to feel like it's a do factor at some point. He's got to get it done because, I mean, just like I said, you're not going to continue to get these types of shots, and you just got to feel like at some point he's going to have to break through.
I'm telling you, like, there are very few teams, Buffalo Bills, sorry.
Wow.
There are very few teams that get that chance and don't finally get one.
Yeah.
I think that San Francisco is finally going to get one because, look, if Kansas City does win, I mean, this is bananas. Yeah. The amount of Super Bowls, AFC championships that Pat Mahomes is doing it. I think if they lock in on Pacheco, they lock in on Travis Kelce, which is much easier said than done, then what do you have, Rice? Rice might be doing something? No. I really do think that it's what you mentioned. They're there again. That window is closing. Yeah. It's Niner time, and I think they're going to win it, brother.
All right, that's going to do it for the debut show of The Point After It's back. But don't worry, we'll be back Monday with a Super Bowl recap. And we're going to talk a little Charlotte Hornets. They were very busy yesterday during the trade deadline. We're going to talk about them and the future to come. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Monday on The Point After.
See you.